Hello and welcome to Talkernate History, the podcast where we,
Matt
and Max, talk about works of alternate history scenarios, and history in general. This episode, we're going back to more of a history in general type of episode. We're going to talk about the 1948 presidential election.
Very excited to discuss this. An election that deserves more study and more attention.
I agree completely. I find presidential elections to be really, really interesting. You know, there's a series by David Petruzza where he'll go into different years like 1920, 1960, 1948. I think 1936 and 1932 are also involved in there. But I just think that stuff is really, really interesting. And this is probably one of the most interesting elections in American history.
It's definitely much more impactful than people give it credit for. I think that it just is faded. It doesn't have the attention that like the 1960 election gets, or the elections during at least the 1932 election during the Great Depression.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, you know, in the popular consciousness, when people think about this election, all they think about is Truman holding up the Dewey defeats Truman headline.
Or Dewey holding up the Truman defeats Dewey.
Right. Depending on whether you live in the cursed or blessed timeline, of course. The cover of Alternate Presidents. And there actually was a story in there about that. It was one of the few cases where the cover wasn't completely unrelated to the contents of the book.
And at the end of it, Thomas Dewey, as president, puts on his Roman centurion's uniform and gets in his Panzer IV and goes on to glory.
Yes.
I mean, wait.
He then contacts the aliens and says, "Mission accomplished, my masters."
That's right. Michael Dukakis. And then also George Custer shows up because he was born 150 years later rather than...
Baby Custer walks in wearing a cowboy hat.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But there's a lot to analyze here. It's a really, really interesting election. But I think in order to talk about 1948 properly, we kind of have to go over the backstory of it a little bit, mostly centered on 1944. Because 1944, that's the year when FDR dumps Henry A. Wallace as his vice president. First vice president was, of course, John Nance Garner back in...
Cactus Jack. Who lived another 700 years after leaving the vice presidency.
He outlived JFK, if you can believe that. Insane. Absolutely insane. But
he looked old in the 30s, but...
people didn't know what old really meant regarding him.
Yeah.
He's a character in the book Joe Steele. He's an interesting, funny character.
Not a member of the Jimmy Carter Club. Close, but
no cigar.
That's right.
Yes.
Close, but no pitcher of piss.
It's all for me. Yes. Delicious.
And why we're saying that is that he once said the vice presidency wasn't worth a warm pitcher of piss.
Correct. Yes.
Just in case, just to dispel any.
And, you know, that's what people thought of the vice presidency until 44 is kind of the pivotal vice president selection that kind of changed people's thoughts on the vice presidency because, you know, with FDR expanded the power of the president so much that, you know, it mattered a lot more. Also, circumstances, you know, World War II was happening and everything.
And we knew we were going to be playing a large role in the post-war world. So,
right.
But yeah, Henry Wallace became vice president in 1940. Henry Wallace, Max, the guy that you most wished became president, right?
Oh, it would have been just me and Oliver Stone agree. We agree on everything already, but especially Henry Wallace being president would have fixed everything.
You will like Wall Street too. You will like Wall Street too.
Alexander is a good movie.
Yes. So good.
So Henry Wallace, you know, one of the great American oddballs in politics. That guy is very, very interesting. He's the son of Henry Cantwell Wallace, who was Secretary of Agriculture in the Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge administrations, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
He must have been really good at agriculture.
One of the best. He actually had a big rivalry with Herbert Hoover, believe it or not. They hated each other's guts, absolutely despised one another. And that hatred was passed down to his son, Henry A. Wallace. Henry Agard Wallace is his name.
A guard.
Agard, yes.
Agad.
Agard. Henry A. Wallace was an interesting character. He may have had Asperger's. He would bring his dates to the chicken coop because he thought chickens were so interesting and wanted to show off his chicken breeds that he was breeding.
Oh, that's not what he called the bachelor pad.
No.
Chicken coop.
The chicken coop, yeah. And he just had a fascination with nature and with animals and stuff. And he was a dreamer, a mystic. He was really fascinated with other religions. He liked Christianity, but he also liked Buddhism and Zoroastrianism and stuff. And he kind of veered into the occult sometimes. There's this guy named Nicholas Rurik. He was this Russian
mystic.
Yeah. That I think that's an appropriate word for him. He created the Rurik Pact, and he was a theosophist. He was kind of tied in with the theosophist movement.
That's what I thought, that he had some sort of connection, or his ideas were kind of similar to the theosophist.
His sister was Helena Rurik. I'm pretty sure she's named after Helena
Blavatsky,
that's it.
Blavatsky.
Oh, so sorry.
Max.
It's been too long since I read that.
Weird ghost story.
Yeah, the Lena Weaver story with the Vril lens and all that other craziness. God only knows. Was that alternate generals?
I think it was.
What general was in that story?
I don't remember. It's generally about history.
Yeah, history in general. But yeah, really a bit of a weirdo. He got first plugged in with the Theosophists because he went to some Rurik affiliated museum and saw this like weaving on a wall, and he was just staring at it for like an hour. And one of the staff walked up to him and it's like, I feel powerful vibrations coming from this. I need to know who commissioned this artwork or whatever.
Vibrations. Good vibrations, even, you could say.
You could say that, yeah. Or maybe they were bad vibrations because his association with Rurik was crazy. He once he was vice president, this was still when he was Secretary of Agriculture and FDR.
Because Henry Wallace became Secretary of Agriculture under FDR, and he's actually pretty good. Like, he was actually, like, he knew a lot. He was actually quite an accomplished agronomist.
He started a company called Pioneer Hybrid Corn, I think is the name of it. And they didn't just do corn, they did other stuff, but they would create these strains of different plants that were hardier, had greater yields, were more drought resistant. It was like this miracle stuff. And Henry Wallace was a millionaire by the time he was in the White House. He was very wealthy.
Oh, he was never in the White House, thank God.
Well, yes, I'm sorry.
The Naval Observatory.
Right, exactly, yes. By the time he was in the Naval Observatory. Well, no, actually, the vice president didn't have its own residence until, I think, after 48.
Really?
Yeah, so you had to get so that was one of the other bad things about being vice president is he had to buy a house in Washington, D.C., which is a giant pain in the ass. But yeah, so he was actually like a scientist. It's so crazy because he relied upon empirical data when it came to agricultural stuff. But when it came to political stuff, it was all just vibes and, not really based on logic. He would he had a big affinity for the Soviet Union. He loved the Soviet Union, made apologies for the Soviet Union at every turn. And he was very naive about communism. He called it economic democracy.
Yep.
What?
So democratic.
Economic
so honest,
democracy.
So democratic. He watches the fall of Berlin and he's like, yes.
Yeah, the homeboy spitting right there. Yeah, that's he's completely correct. But he's just bent over backwards to make excuses for the Soviet Union. He even went to the Soviet Union. He went to Siberia, 1944. Same year he got booted from the ticket. But they watched The North Star, believe it or not, that movie. And they walked him through a gulag, and he was none the wiser. He thought, what a charming little town this is.
What?
Yes. He's a man.
What a charming town ringed with barbed wire.
Here in Magadan, here in the these log cabins where people in rags are like.
Oh my God. But so he gets dumped in
Yeah.
44. And it is you know more about this than I do, but one of the reasons why they dumped him is that people were aware that FDR's health just wasn't great. And they pretty much thought that he probably wasn't going to live another 4 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. He was in bad shape. You can see it in the photographs of
He
the
looks
time.
awful. 44, 45.
Yeah. Yeah. His clothes are hanging off his skeletal body. I mean, he was not doing well. So they were scared that, oh my God, this guy might actually become president, as they should be scared, because my God.
He was basically a member of like a cult. I mean, that's like the whole Roerich thing. Like, and didn't I mean, I remember you listened to a biography about him, like book on tape, and you were telling me about how like he sent official like missions to like Mongolia or Tibet, and like officially it was to collect like drought resistant seeds, but actually it was to scout out something like a Shangri-La mystic land or something. Tell me.
Yeah, he sent Roerich and some of his buddies along with these hairy Department of Agriculture guys who were forced to go along with them to allegedly find seeds, but actually to talk to monasteries to try to convince them to join a new state called Shambhala. Here in occupied Japanese Manchukuo. And they were going to create this like U.S. aligned like third state in between China, the USSR, and Japan, basically. And it's just, what in God's name are you guys doing here?
To be a fly in the wall with one of those Department of Agriculture employees who gets sent all the way to Manchuria in like the 30s, and then it's this like Russian mystic in the boat with you. Like, what?
With a big white beard and a little like pillbox hat on. Here's your boss. He's not even an American citizen, and you're on an American diplomatic trip to get seeds.
So very rightfully so. Henry Wallace got the boot.
Yes. And there were a couple different people who FDR could have gone with. Could have gone with Jimmy Burns. Could have gone with
Jimmy Carter, just the eternal
little baby Carter. No, not baby, teenager Carter at this point.
In 44, no, he's an adult. Haven't you read some of my stories? He's killing people already.
Oh, yes,
by 44, he's well on his way to.
I forgot. Yes.
Come back, Jimmy.
Jimmy, please. I beg you. We could really use a man like Jimmy Carter again.
That's right.
Yeah.
We need a real sure shot in the cockpit.
Short, controlled bursts. That's what he always said.
That's right.
Your boy Cordell Hull. He could have been vice president.
Cordell Hull, yeah, he would have been an interesting choice. Yeah, he is. He does become vice president in my. If I ever finish it, my Montgomery Patton story. I made good headway for a while, and then some work stuff and various other things just have gotten in the way. But I intend to get back on it. But yeah, but the thing about Cordell Hull is is it sarcoidosis? He had some sort of a disease that would sometimes relapse, so he'd be okay. But like his health was not great by that point, and I think people liked his foreign policy bona fides, and if he had good health, I think he may have been the choice. But he's also like born in the 1870s. So he would have been quite old. But either way, his health, I think based off his health, I think he just wasn't interested.
I gotcha. Okay. But Mr. FDR would end up going with our boy, Harry S. Truman.
Yeah.
And Harry S. Truman had an interesting trajectory. He was just a dirt scratcher from Missouri, served in World War I, had horrible eyesight, lied on his exam in order to go.
Yeah, very thick glasses.
But
he was a combat veteran, artilleryman.
Yes, courage under fire, and came back to the United States, got hooked up with a guy named Tom Pendergast. He was like the super corrupt boss of Missouri. Mm-hmm. And Truman knew Pendergast's like cousin or something. And so he got hooked up into the Democratic machine there. He became elected a county judge despite only having a high school education, which is crazy.
Oh, I mean, why not?
And then he
was a haberdasher at one point.
That's right. Yeah, he was a haberdasher with actually a Jewish guy as his coworker. And we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but later on during his presidency, that same coworker would plead with him to aid Jewish immigrants to Palestine and encouraged him to recognize a Jewish state if it is declared. And some people think that friendship is the reason why the U.S. would end up recognizing Israel like pretty much immediately.
Interesting. But Jimmy Carter, Harry Truman really is. He's the last president who is not a college graduate.
Mm-hmm.
Most presidents since then have come from some degree of privilege. Not all of them. I mean, I guess Bill Clinton wasn't born exactly into privilege, but he was a Rhodes Scholar. He went to Georgetown and Oxford and Yale Law. I mean, like, Harry Truman's the last plain and simple American, you could call it. I mean, that sounds like insulting to say, but like he's the last kind of everyman, or someone who came from everyman sort of circumstances that actually became president.
Right. And that comes through in his behavior. You know, he's very folksy.
But he is, there's a lot of parallels between him and Andrew Johnson in some way.
Okay.
If you think about it. But he is much more successful. And history judges him way. Talk about someone whose history has flipped the script on, because by the time he left in 53, he had horrible rankings. People hated him. But like, I mean, most rankings, honest rankings of a president's now probably puts him easily in the top 10.
I mean, if you have to think about what he was asked to do and where he came from, it's incredible. He dealt with the creation of Israel. He dealt with the end of World War II, whether or not to use the atomic bomb.
The Marshall Plan, the rebuilding of Europe, the beginning of the Cold War, Soviets getting a nuclear bomb. The vast majority of the Korean War is fought in his time in office.
And of course, the 48 election, having to go through all that. Even during that election, people were losing faith in him rapidly. And people thought he had no chance of winning in 48. At least the smart people in the room were like, oh, it's 100% going to be Dewey. No chance. We're going to see Truman back.
So Truman becomes vice president in 44, and he runs with FDR. But Thomas Dewey also runs as a Republican candidate in 44, and he'll be back in 48. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Mr. Dewey, Max?
Thomas Dewey. So Thomas Dewey was, oh gosh, I might, let me
He was born in like 1900. He was actually relatively young.
Yeah, a lot younger than Truman was.
Truman was born in 1884.
I believe that's right. Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Dewey, on the other hand, younger guy, he actually wanted to be a singer initially. He has a beautiful voice.
He has a much deeper voice if you listen to recordings of it than you would have thought.
He sounds like this. He's interesting stuff. So he wanted to be a singer, but he decided not to because one day he lost his voice before a performance. And he's like, I can't rely on my voice being good to peg my whole livelihood on that. So I'm going to be a lawyer instead. And ended up becoming district attorney of New York. And went after the mafia, was responsible for taking down Lucky Luciano, among many others.
Yeah, and a bunch of different other, I think it was a Murder Incorporated was the thing that he was a big crusader against the mob. There's a Dutch Schultz wanted to have him killed.
Dutch Schultz, eh?
Yeah, not actually his, no.
Ronald Reagan, Dutch.
Arthur Flegenheimer, if I believe is his real name.
Is that right?
I believe so. But
good old Dewey, very popular in New York, beloved, became governor of New York and leveraged that into running against FDR in 44 and actually did far and away the best against FDR than anybody else.
Well, yeah. Well, Hoover got killed, obviously.
Well,
and Landon got mega killed.
Yes.
Landon got vaporized.
Wilkie got destroyed pretty badly.
He held up better. They each, well, actually, the nadir is 36.
Yeah.
Wilkie does somewhat better, and then Dewey does the best. But, I mean, kind of FDR, the argument was like the don't swap horses in the middle of the stream argument. And people, I mean, I don't think people were looking for a major change. And based off the way the war was going by that point, I mean, yes, if the United States had been on the back foot, if we, by 44, we haven't made significant progress, maybe be different. But
yeah. And during 44, there was some talk of maybe we should question the FDR administration's response to Pearl Harbor and the level of readiness at Pearl Harbor.
We're going to bomb it too. Just to check it.
It's like Dick Marcinko, Red Cell. We're going to try bombing it just a little bit to see. But he was going to do that. And George Marshall told him, please don't, because if we get into this too far, we're probably going to have to talk about how we were able to decrypt Japanese diplomatic cables. And they might not know we've decrypted everything yet. There are still some codes they're using
that we can still break.
So don't make that an issue. And he assented to that. And I think that kind of made him afraid of being too too attacking on the other candidate, like he'll get pushback from being too aggressive.
And and again, I wish I had read, more into this, but my recollection was there was also some questions amongst the Republicans about whether or not a negotiated peace could end the war rather than, so don't quote me on that.
Idea,
that would a Republican administration been more open to some sort of a peace agreement rather than an unconditional surrender? I mean, there's plenty of historians who criticize Churchill, Truman, and FDR about not trying to seek some sort of a conditional surrender. This idea that like maybe Japan, we could have saved although I mean, there's,
right.
I mean, and also there's plenty of good reasons why we didn't strike a deal with the Germans, in February of 1945.
This is true. Possibilities are always endless. So,
But so Dewey loses, FDR wins, and he dies, 3 months after he's sworn in, dies April 45, sworn in January 45. Yeah.
And then Truman is thrown into the presidency with very, very high popularity levels that diminish pretty quickly after that. So by 47, it's looking real bad for him. And people in the Democratic Party are even thinking about just bucking him and replacing him with someone else. Yeah. So now we're kind of at the 48 area. So we can start really delving into counterfactuals and what really happened and all that other stuff.
Yeah. So let's go.
What if FDR didn't boot out Wallace? What if he kept Wallace in 44? Like, imagine what that would have been like.
It's that Ardennes disaster story that Peter Sarras is right. Like, Henry Wallace becomes president. And it's like the worst thing ever. Here's the thing is that Wallace would have been a terrible president. And I think that was kind of like the point of the book that you read and you were telling me about is like, he was just not. I mean, and it's a great example of where you could be a genius and really good at one thing. I mean, you could be really good at agronomy and growing seeds and different plants and raising animals, but like being a president is a totally different skill set. And I think Wallace would have been horrible. And Truman was faced with some of the hardest decisions a president's ever had to make, which is the decision to drop the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
And he was talk about man and moment, the right man at the right moment. Like, I don't think Wallace will do that. I think frankly, Wallace was I don't know if he was he wasn't a Soviet agent, but he was so friendly to the Soviets that who could have Stalin wanted better to have been the president?
And I mean, he would eventually turn against the Soviet Union. Like when the Korean War started, he was fourscore in favor of the U.S. sending troops to Korea. So, I mean, he's not a diehard. He can be swayed, but I mean, he would have made, I think, probably some foolish decisions early on.
I don't know if he would have dropped the atomic bomb.
I don't know either. I'm not sure. He's also very naive, though, and very easily manipulated. So maybe his advisors would have worn him down eventually. I don't know.
William Leahy's like, yes, you will drop it. Actually, he wasn't a big fan of the atomic bomb. I'm trying to think who. Hap Arnold. Okay.
Maybe. Okay.
But yeah, you're right. Curtis LeMay.
Yeah.
I'll do it myself.
I'll do it.
No. But yeah, keeping Wallace in 44, I don't think they would have done it because I think they knew how bad his health was and they just were not going to take that risk.
But, maybe different world. Maybe for whatever reason, he's a little bit healthier by then, or maybe he's just super diehard, 100% ride or die for Wallace for whatever reason and just refuses to countenance anyone else. But yeah, a disaster.
Yep. What if Burns or Cordell Hull were picked? Burns he's a figure that just really is just kind of faded into history.
Yeah. A Southerner.
South Carolina,
yeah.
A state that we'll be talking about a bunch.
Yeah, very important for this discussion. Yeah, I don't know as much about them.
Hull was too old, frankly. And here's the thing is that Hull certainly could have had tons of foreign policy bona fides, but there's also, again, the presidency is both. It's both domestic and foreign. And Truman was the best choice of them all. Like, they really did make the right choice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any of those people, if they're still president, are going to beat a Dewey in 48. I think Dewey in 48 will be pretty easy grasp on the presidency if they have to run up against a Cordell Hull or a Henry Wallace.
Yeah, because if you have a Burns, he's a Southerner, so that could divide people in that respect. Cordell, really old. People don't have faith in him. We just had a president die. We don't want another super old president. And if you change horses, if you do a new candidate, like you say, we're going to some other Democrat, some younger Democrat being thrown in, then people have no idea who this person is. Incumbency is really powerful, as we see in this election.
Absolutely.
So on the other hand, there's the Republicans in 48. Mm-hmm. Dewey ran in 44, but he lost. So, it's not a sure thing that we're going to go with Dewey again.
That's true.
And there's a bunch of different people we can choose from, one of them being Robert Taft.
Yes.
They called him Mr. Republican.
Yeah. Head of the sort of the isolationist wing of the Republican Party, son of William Howard.
Oh, yes, of course. It's actually, I think, Robert Alonzo Taft.
Alonzo.
Yeah. So kind of the conservative darling of the Republican Party. Something weird about these parties at this time, the Democrats and the Republicans both have liberal and conservative wings to them. There isn't it's not like, the Republicans are conservatives and the Democrats are liberals. No, it's like each one is an interesting mix of all kinds of different sectional parts.
And some people would say that's why we have so much political dysfunction these days, is that there's been a homogenization of political parties in a way that, you have these conservative Democrats from the South that like were way more conservative than you'd get like Republicans from the Northeast. I mean, and that's just part of the political realignment that's happened, throughout the years.
Yeah. And certain issues would be, you wouldn't expect certain things would be mixed together. Like, for instance, you got a guy named Harold Stassen. He was a guy, Harold Stassen, who hilariously tried to be president 9 friggin' times. Last time being 1992, for God's sakes. I'm gonna take down H.W. Bush myself. I mean, but he was like a liberal Republican who was also, though, super duper anti-communist, despite being the most liberal person in the Republican Party up for nomination.
You would see that. You'd see people like Harold Stassen, super anti-communist, but like domestically liberal. And then you have like Scoop Jackson, Henry Jackson from Washington State, very famous moderate Democrat, very moderate on domestic issues, but like big time anti-communist.
Yeah.
I mean, and you would see that. I mean, yes, there are some politicians today who still run that gamut, but it is getting rarer because there's certainly ideological purity, I think, matters more because I think people look at the national picture more. I think at the time, local, what suited you locally mattered more. And I think that the way mass media worked even then, it just was, so, you focused in on like local issues. And also people had like, especially in the South, they just had this attachment to the Democratic Party. Although this is an interesting break from that you see in this election.
It is, because this would be an election where a section of the Democratic Party broke off and became its own third or fourth party, depending on how you look at it. Strom Thurmond would end up being the candidate for the States' Rights Democrats, or Dixiecrats, or they're colloquially known as, and would end up taking multiple states away from the Democrats, the vanilla Democrats, I guess you could call them.
The vanilla Coke Democrats. The diet vanilla Coke.
The cherry Coke Democrats.
So, so you have, Stassen becoming, I remember reading some, it was like, I think that alternatehistory.com or there's like an alternate history wiki, and it had some list of, alternate presidents, and Harold Stassen was the president at one point. He finally got what he wanted after trying for so long.
Stassen's an interesting guy. He was aide to Admiral Halsey, I'm pretty sure. I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, but he was also the governor of Minnesota in like the 30s.
Yeah. And young. Yeah, I think he might be the youngest governor ever. Really young.
Like in his early 30s.
Yeah.
But then you have Taft was just probably, frankly, too conservative. Like he was too. I mean, we're still in the New Deal. Here's the thing: is that you could really say that the tendrils of the New Deal stretch kind of into the 60s before it's fully replaced. So 1948, we're still very much in the New Deal era. And frankly, you could say there's some remnants of the New Deal that even lasted through the Biden administration in a way. But so Taft is frankly, he's probably too conservative, and his brand of republicanism is not going to be popular enough nationwide to win at that time, because we're still not that far after the New Deal and after World War II.
I mean, after all, the Taft-Hartley bill, which gutted unions in America, super duper unpopular with organized labor, and it just makes him poison in a lot of the Midwest. I mean, people absolutely hate him out there. So not really electable. And, later on in the next election in 52, the conservative wing of the Republican Party really wanted Taft to win then. And they felt so betrayed when Eisenhower swooped in and became the nominee. That's like the first wave of like some people say the modern conservative movement begins with Eisenhower being picked over Taft, because, that's when the John Birch Society comes into flower and starts accusing Eisenhower of being a communist agent.
That sort of like old school conservatism is just not going to play. I mean, not to say that it was completely gone by that time, but it wasn't going to win out on a national level.
No, not yet, at least.
Yeah, not at that point, not in 48.
Yeah. So Taft, I don't think there's any chance of him winning if he becomes the nominee for the Republicans.
How about another dark horse candidate?
Yes.
Douglas MacArthur.
Oh my God, Douglas MacArthur. Of course. So yeah, Douglas MacArthur was he was one of the potential candidates for the Republicans, but he's got a big problem. He's in Japan, running Japan right now.
He's currently Emperor of Japan. Sorry.
The shogun himself, yes. Alternate tyrants. He's got the kimono on and
that's right.
And the sandals.
He walks out and people shout, "Tenoheka Banzai."
May you live 10,000 years, MacArthur-sama.
Yeah, that's his big problem. Yes, Japan.
Yeah, he's in Japan at the time, so he can't really come to America and campaign properly. There was a Republican primary in Wisconsin, and the MacArthur loyalists were really hopeful he was going to win there. Stassen ended up winning. But if MacArthur had won in Wisconsin, it would have changed the calculus, and he might have come to the RNC to try to plead his case there.
That's right.
I mean, we could have seen MacArthur running for president and winning in 48, maybe. I don't know. I don't know if he could win.
Oh my God.
But
could you imagine?
Can you imagine that? President MacArthur. And like, imagine President MacArthur and the Korean War starts. Like, who's running the Korean War? I guess
him.
Not him. Yeah, someone else. But can you imagine that? Like President MacArthur.
No fucking way, man.
With the glasses, wear the glasses all the time. Because in my mind, when I think of MacArthur, I always think he's in military uniform.
Corncob pipe, the scrambled eggs on the cap.
Exactly. Like imagine like him in a suit. I can't even imagine him in a suit.
It's weird because he's also balding. That's why he wore the hat so much, because he had a comb over.
Huh. Maybe he just keeps wearing the military uniform, breaks tradition.
Yeah.
Is the first Generalissimo.
Yes, exactly. Well, they wanted to be president. I mean, there's a reason why they call it American Caesar, the book. I mean, it's not about the salad either. I mean, it's he absolutely had political aspirations, and 48 probably would have been as good a time for him. Yeah.
Yeah. But he would have to probably not be running Japan. So if you wanted to do a counterfactual, maybe he gets fired for some reason. He pisses off Truman. Yeah. Truman gets hot-headed and off the cuff said, "You're out of here, buddy. I'm sending you stateside to."
I'm sending Lloyd Friedendahl to take over.
I'm sending
Omar Bradley.
I'm sending Simon Bolivar Buckner to be in charge. I know, but I mean, it's a different world.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, you could see something like that maybe happening. And then, I don't know, maybe he can get the support because he was popular. Not as popular as Eisenhower, but still really high up there.
He could have had a shot. I don't know if he could have won, but maybe. But it's, I remember you sent me an article too about how at one point it looked like if that had happened, that Truman would run as vice president rather than as president, and Eisenhower, they were hoping to get Eisenhower to run as a Democrat.
I couldn't believe it when I read it, but it's true. Apparently, Truman had said privately to Eisenhower, "Hey, man, if MacArthur's running and I'm thinking I'm going to lose, I'm willing to give you the nomination and I'll be your vice president," which later on Truman would deny it, but he wrote about it in his diary. So it's 100% true. This did happen. Whether it would have actually come to fruition, I don't know. But can you imagine an Eisenhower versus MacArthur ticket?
Oh my God. The possibilities are amazing.
And these two guys have a history together.
Yeah.
They were working together in the bonus army thing.
That's right. Eisenhower said, "I studied dramatics under General MacArthur for years."
And MacArthur said, "Eisenhower, best clerk I ever had." That guy.
They hated each other. I mean, that's the thing about Eisenhower, though, is that like great general and all that, but incredible ambition. And I mean, and that's one of the reasons why the drive and ambition, why Marshall picked him. I remember listening to a lecture about it. I was definitely the coolest kid in high school. I remember I listened to a lecture about one of the reasons why Marshall picked Eisenhower for that position, jumped him over all these people, is that he had the drive and like the ambition to be able to carry that sort of position that he had, that Ike wasn't just this plain talking kid from Texas who just was a general. Like, I mean, he was ambitious. He was driven. He was a politician. I mean, in many ways, that was the criticism that a lot of people say about him, is he wasn't really that good of a general. He was superb at coalition warfare because he was more a politician than a general. Still an American hero, in my opinion, because what he did is incredible. Managing coalition warfare is about one of the hardest things you can do.
Absolutely.
But he was a politician, and he did seriously think about a Democratic nomination in 52, I think, right?
We're talking about Eisenhower.
Eisenhower,
yeah.
MacArthur.
That's correct. But I mean, like, the interesting thing about Eisenhower is that he didn't vote in any elections ever until he was president. He never registered with a political party. He never voted for a president. So he could have been a Republican or a Democrat. It's pretty much equal chance, honestly. It's a coin flip. And in 48, Democrats really wanted to draft Eisenhower to run for them then because, you know, they're in a crisis. They got Truman, who's not super popular. They got a bunch of people who aren't really good. A guy like Eisenhower coming from the heavens with high popularity is just great for them. But he refused. Every entreaty he refused. And the Republicans, they already knew who they were going to do. It was either Dewey or one or two or three other guys. They didn't need any more
Harold
people.
Stassen.
The great Stassen, yes. The great Vandenberg. I love your Air Force. I'm sorry, Space Force Base. It's a Space Force Base.
Space Force Base. The Guardians are there now.
What are the Guardians?
This is what they call Space Forcians.
Oh.
Space Force.
Space Enforcers is what they should have called them.
No, the Space Force members are Guardians.
Huh.
It's just the old space division of the Air Force.
Yeah. I like it,
Space
though.
Force. I do, yes.
I'm a fan. But, you know, it's one of those guys. They don't want to beg Eisenhower to come in and be their candidate because they're confident they're going to win. So they don't feel like they need that extra popularity boost from getting a guy like him.
They won't make that mistake in 52, though.
No. They're going to beg him, and he's going to accept in 52.
And he's going to go to Korea.
Yes, he is. And he's going to look at it, and he's going to say,
"We surrender." Just kidding.
I'm the great Kim Il-sung. I'm going to kiss his feet and comb his hair.
No, they didn't surrender, but they did cut a deal because, why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
But so we've got, the possibilities truly are endless. Douglas MacArthur as president. Not great. I don't think that would have gone very well.
Yeah. Going to alienate a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think that his style of generalship, in the way it was different from Ike's, would have suited him very poorly for the presidency.
He's also got a scandal baked in. The mistress he had,
Dimples Cooper.
Dimples Cooper.
No, her name is like Isabel Cooper or something, but Dimples Cooper. Because he didn't get married until he was like 60 or almost 60.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because Jean MacArthur died in like 2000 or 2001.
That's insane.
She lived to be like 101 or 102.
And they had a kid, right?
Yeah, Arthur MacArthur the Fourth.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like he was truly a military man all of his life, and I don't think he had the sort of political skills, little p political skills, I guess you could say, that Eisenhower had. And because he didn't really have to manage coalition warfare in the Pacific, and the Australians, also known as bullying them.
Here's a potentially stupid question, but MacArthur, president, Korean War happens. Is it possible for the president to be like a on-the-ground commander in the field? Is such a thing even possible?
I don't think so. I mean, certainly not now, they say.
No, not now.
Why would that stop anyone, I guess?
But,
though, right?
If you got a guy like MacArthur in charge and,
Who knows? I guess they are the commander in chief. I mean, they have the ability. I've never heard of like a president being like, move this corps to this position, but I guess why not? They are the head of the armed forces.
Well, I mean, we've never had a general president be president in a time of war, except for, of course, a little bit Eisenhower, because Eisenhower was in charge during a little bit of the Korean War. But I don't know. It's kind of potentially a dumb question, but
no,
you know,
no, but it's, I mean, well, it's also, I mean, but leaders of nations don't. I mean, the last time a British monarch led troops in battle was, I think it was at Minden in 1740 something. It was George II, one of those eminently forgettable kings of England or monarchs. He did die taking a shit, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
just like Elvis.
Yep, just like Elvis, just like Catherine the Great. Yeah, no, he died. He was also in his late 70s. He actually was older than I would have thought. And yeah, had a morning hot chocolate, went to retire to the commode, and had like an aortic dissection.
Oh, no. Oh, my God.
For restraining too hard, apparently.
Oh, dear. Well,
brought to you by Mucinex.
Brought to you by Miralax.
Miralax, sorry. Yeah. Whatever Musa is.
Mansa Mucinex. Yeah.
You know, whatever. Metamucil. Brought to you by Metamucil.
But, well, Churchill, though, he took a pretty hands-on approach to World War II, and he wore military uniforms, though there is some controversy about whether that's legal or not, to you know, the stolen valor argument of like...
Keir Starmer marches into a base. And I'm joining you, SAS men.
He's got camouflage paint on his face. I'm ready for a night operation, and his face is completely black. Excuse me, sir. There's some optics here.
And Boris Johnson is going to join the special boat service.
Bodie McBoat service, yes.
So Earl Warren, too.
Yeah, so Earl Warren from California. He was a favorite son. He didn't campaign anywhere but California. Showed up to the RNC. Wasn't able to become the presidential nominee, but they chose him for vice president. So he's on the ticket with Dewey. Earl Warren didn't want to be vice president, but they asked him in 44 and he said no, and he felt like he couldn't refuse again. It was an offer he couldn't refuse.
They made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
And he didn't really help. He didn't really help because California went Democrat. And they thought, oh, he's from Scandinavian stock. He'll help us in the Midwest. No, I don't think so.
Yes. Earl Warrenson.
Warren, yes, exactly. Jingleheimer, yes.
Earl, the last Earl to ever come from California. Earl Warren. But then goes on to have an immense impact on American history and the American legal system later on because he gets nominated by Eisenhower.
That's true.
To be on the Supreme Court.
The Warren Court. There's a supposed quote saying the worst thing I ever did was appoint Warren to the Supreme Court. I don't think he didn't actually say that. I've heard people say that's a myth.
I don't know. That's good. But he is immensely influential in that way, but not so influential here.
Because
he'd been governor of California. That's right.
Right. Yeah. He was
before Ronnie Ray guns.
Yeah. Yes. The Warren Court, they're responsible for Brown versus Board of Education, right?
They are. Yeah.
Any other big ones?
Miranda versus Arizona.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A lot of those cases, I don't know if this episode will be released before or after the one in which we discuss the American legal stuff, the Big Jim McLean episode.
Of course, yes.
But yes, immensely influential in civil liberties.
But thought of as one of the most liberal justices, I
definitely.
guess.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Liberal Republican. You want to talk about liberal Republican, Warren, for sure. So
Yeah. And, you know, some people say if Dewey had chosen someone else for vice president, that might have put things over for him.
Maybe. I don't know. Most people don't think there were...
People in Ohio were like, I don't know if I'm going to vote for Donald Trump, but he chose J.D. Vance. So, all right, that put me over the limit. Like, I don't think people do that.
No, I don't think that matters a whole lot. I mean...
Where's Tim Walz from?
Minnesota,
yeah. I don't think anyone cares.
No. Yeah, vice presidents don't. I mean, it should matter who your vice president is.
I mean, but I don't think people really think about it. Most people don't even know who they are, honest. Well, not most people, but
these days a little bit more, but like people forget Alvin Barkley, which I think is a crying shame.
It's an absolute
Thomas
crime.
Marshall. What America needs is a good 5-cent cigar.
Exactly.
Or 10-cent, whatever.
How about 9-cent? Lower it, you know.
That's right. Cigarflation.
This damn inflation, yeah. A good 9-cent cigar.
So Dewey ultimately gets the nomination. He's going to give it another try. Give it the old college try, as they say.
Yeah, and...
ultimately, he loses
Yeah, he does lose.
in a very close election.
Very close. I mean, if you look at the Electoral College, you might think it's not that close, but you got to look at some of the individual states. I mean, it is razor thin in between. So if you look at the electoral map, the Democrats win Wisconsin, Illinois, and Ohio, and their total majority there is only like a few thousand votes, probably 20,000 in total, maybe 30,000. And it goes the other way at that point.
Yeah. The Electoral College highly skews elections that could really truly be decided in around 50 to 100,000 votes could decide an election. And we've had a couple elections in which the swing really was, but the Electoral College does not look that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, some people like to say they win huge Electoral College victories and stuff like that, you know, but the actual numbers. So like this is like Truman won 303 Electoral College votes, which is 270. That's 33 past what you would need, but it was way closer than this. I mean, there's a reason why Dewey Defeats Truman got printed.
Yeah. And the conventional logic was that, oh, he's going to win, especially because the big cities and the big states pretty much all went for Dewey, except for, I guess, California and Texas. Yeah. But that's
Dewey won New York and Pennsylvania. That's crazy.
And New York and Pennsylvania have even more electoral votes than they have today.
Oh, my God. Right? By a huge percentage. New York's probably down 20 electoral votes from where it is now.
And it's funny, too, if you look at that map, Florida is only 8. And Florida is now a juggernaut. It's huge.
Yeah.
Is it 20? Is it 30 now?
Got to be over 30.
Yeah.
Texas is 23 is what it says here, or 25. Texas is over 30 now. Mm-hmm. California is like in the 50s. I think it's 53 or 54.
I think you're right about that.
Like North Carolina, Georgia, those have grown in size too. North Carolina says what, 14?
Yeah.
Okay, North Carolina is maybe about the same, although North Carolina has grown as a state, definitely. Pennsylvania and New York have shrunk. Oklahoma has 10. That seems like a lot. I feel like Oklahoma has shrunk a little bit.
Well, and another thing to throw things off is the fact that D.C. is not even counted yet. Not until the 60s.
Not until 60. Yeah, they couldn't vote. 64 is the first election, I believe, where they D.C. votes, 3 electoral votes.
Not to mention Alaska, Hawaii, still territories at this time. But yeah, so just to get back to the electoral map, I mean, if Dewey had won in Wisconsin, basically Wisconsin, Illinois, and Ohio, if he won a combination of 2 of any of those 3, it now becomes a contingent election because no one has 270.
Which God help us if we ever have one of those. Truly.
Can you imagine it? Just how screwed up that would be. Especially because you could also have faithless electors, making it even worse. Because like most states, as of right now, as of the most recent Supreme Court decision, which I think was brought on by 2016 because there were like 9 faithless electors. To explain what that means, the Electoral College, your Electoral College candidate doesn't have to vote, in a lot of cases, doesn't have to vote for what the state voted for.
In many states, state law does not bind them.
Yes. And they can do it without any penalty in many states. Now, the Supreme Court made a ruling that states can create punishments. But like
a lot of states, more than half of them, I think, says by law, it says the elector, whatever party you're an elector for, you have to vote for who the candidate is, whoever the official candidate is.
Yeah. In this election, Tennessee had one faithless in 48. I mean, Tennessee had one that went for Thurmond, even though.
But there are states that there is no penalty. So people, was it 2016 where some people voted for?
Yeah, like this Native American lady, Paul Ryan got one. I think the idea was that if I, as an elector, vote for a Republican other than Trump, and I can get it so that no one has 270, then we can throw it into the House of Representatives and we can, I guess,
haggle out a deal there.
Because
in the House of Representatives, each state's contingent to the House of Representatives to decide on who they will vote for. And then it's by state. So it's not like all, 435, people walk out there and each vote individually and the person with the most wins. It's by state delegation. The state delegation has to decide.
Mm-mm-mm.
So
yeah, it's highly favorable to having a bunch of states.
Small states, yeah.
Yeah, and if you look at the map for 48, the Democrats on paper have it because, like, look at all the blue states they have. Mm-hmm. Though, of course, you have to come to an agreement. And I think you need to have an absolute majority.
Yeah, I believe so.
I don't think you can get by with
The degree to which we're struggling to explain this to you explains fully why this should never happen.
It should never happen because, good God.
Supercharged claims about backroom deals and smoke-filled rooms. And then also, by the way, the Senate picks the vice president. But so you could have there was a thought in 2000 that like it could be that like Bush may win like in the House of Representatives, but like the Senate could elect Al Gore as the vice president or someone like that. Or who's Gore's? Lieberman. Joe Lieberman. Joe Lieberman coming in to be vice president.
Under Bush. And breaking ties in the Senate if there are any. I don't know. Just a mess. And also, I think in the Senate, you can only choose from the top 2 candidates. So, okay, let's say it's a contingent
Ross
election.
Perot's ears flutter up. What?
What? My running mate, whoever the hell that was.
James Bond Stockdale.
Admiral Stockdale. So, like, let's say you're one of the Dixiecrats, right? It's like, yes, we did it. We brought it into the Senate to choose the vice president. We can have Earl Warren or Alvin Barkley. Yes. Oh, boy, so much choice now. Neither one of them pro-segregation. Neither one of them really all that conservative. It's like a choice without a difference, really.
President Barkley.
And people liked him a lot, apparently.
He's completely forgotten now.
Completely forgotten, yeah. A good orator. Much better than Truman, who would like put like the script directly. You could just like read every word on the page. Terrible eyesight, but good extemporaneous speaker. Truman
supposedly he was diagnosed as a child with something called flat eyeballs.
What?
Which is I think an old time term for farsightedness. There's a guy who has like he's a doctor who I guess in his spare time does like this website about the health of like American presidents, and he breaks it down by each of them, and like very interesting. And I remember that about the Truman one. It said he had flat eyeballs was the diagnosis of the time, which I think sounds like a farsighted diagnosis, but whatever. He wore very thick glasses. He did not have strong eyesight,
but a voracious reader though.
He was.
He gets people think of him as being a bit of a hick, and maybe he was, but he was also a very well-read person.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Very intelligent man.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So we've talked. So it's this narrow victory, but there's so much more to this election, which is that why is it though that the Dixiecrats come about, Max? What is it?
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is an election with some, because it's so close. There are a few choices that, if made differently, may have swung it the other way.
Well, the thing is that in 48 at the DNC, at the Democratic National Convention, there was a bit of a rift within the Democratic Party on the subject of civil rights. There were a lot in the North, the more liberal Democrats, who were saying we should really come down against segregation. And there was this effort led by the great Hubert Horatio Humphrey. I think he was mayor of Minneapolis or something.
Yeah.
Kind of just starting his political career, basically. And he was really passionate about getting a civil rights thing put into the plank of the party, basically like their statement of principles for the campaign. There was some drama over it, but eventually it did win. And in protest of that, a ton of Southerners, not all of them, but a lot of Southerners walked out, including Richard Russell and Strom Thurmond.
Strom Thurmond.
Thurmond.
United States Senator, 137 years old.
We were watching a video of him. Wow.
It's like 94 and like it's 1997, it's 96. And he's like, haha, I can't believe I'm 94. And he's like talking, it's like, holy shit, this guy's like in his mid 90s.
And he was old. He looked old in 48.
Yes. And he lived another 55 years.
And was in politics for all of that?
I remember when he was senator from South Carolina. I remember when he died. I remember like they would wheel him out on a gurney into the Senate to like vote. He was literally 100 years old and was a senator.
He was a senator the day he died?
I think he left a little bit before.
Okay. Wow. I remember him dying. I remember that and just being in awe of how old he was. Just crazy.
He was really fucking old. He was.
And an interesting life story, too. He didn't get married until the year before this, 47. So he was like in his late 40s.
Mid-40s, maybe?
And his wife was, I think, 21 years old. Something like that.
Why not?
Why not, I guess. A legit war hero. World War II veteran.
82nd Airborne.
Yeah.
Normandy.
Yeah, flew in a glider.
And he was in his 40s. I mean, he was born in 1902. Looked it up right before.
He was a politician, a judge, I think, and resigned to go over there.
Yeah. He was in politics, pre-World War II. He fathered a love child with a black woman who worked in his family's house as a servant.
Yeah.
Like as a maid. I remember when that came out publicly. I definitely remember that too. It was after he died, although it was kind of like an open secret.
He was like 22. She was 15 or 16.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yikes indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, just imagine being pro-segregationist and having that hanging over your head at all times.
If that had come out publicly, like, he would have been done at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you wonder too, like how much of it is just, how much did he believe and how much of it was just politics? You know, like, was he pro-segregation because he believed it or just because it was expedient?
Yeah, well, that was sort of the question with George Wallace at times, too.
Because later he would renounce that sort of
stuff.
stuff.
Was before, I mean, I'm not a defender of George Wallace in any way, shape, or form, but there were people who said that for him it was a very cynical, in a part, it was a cynical kind of political move that he was before he was governor and after, later on, because after he got shot by that trucker or something, he became very pro-civil rights. He had kind of like a religious kind of renaissance or something.
And he was friends with Jimmy Carter, I think, after that.
Jimmy Carter's friends with everybody, except that rabbit, which finally did get him back 45 years later. And
also Hirohito as well, not friends with him.
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah, and Tojo as well. But yeah, Strom. And he was actually, believe it or not, one of the more liberal Deep South Democrats. Believe it or not, it's hard to imagine, but he was. Yeah. Like, you compare him to like some of the other, so like the states' rights Democrats had their own convention, which was just a complete clown show of oddballs showing up. Ever heard of J.B. Stoner, that guy?
The name sounds familiar, but tell me.
He was a guy who I think bombed a church, and they only caught him in the 80s, and it was like a big thing where he got and he was the head of some racist organization. I can't remember the name of it, but like the logo is like a Confederate flag with the SS symbol in the middle of it.
Okay, well, that definitely kind of shows you where you're going with it.
Yeah, that shows the timber of many of the people who showed up to this. Alfalfa Bill Murray. Are you familiar with this guy?
I know who Bill Murray is, but I don't think it's that Bill Murray.
The other Bill Murray, yeah. This guy was a guy from Oklahoma.
Alfalfa Brian Doyle Murray.
He was some territory politician in Oklahoma, and I think he might have been the first governor. They have two counties named after him, Alfalfa County and I think Murray County.
Bill County.
Bill County. Al County and Pho County. Foul County.
Murray County.
Murr, and then Ray. But he really went off the deep end later in life. Like, he wrote books about the racial inferiority of black people and wrote like apologetics for Hitler. So he was like way crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah.
The double yikes.
So them choosing Strom Thurmond is like the very liberal, very middle of the road, appeal to everyone choice, considering.
Well, it didn't.
Right. Yeah. L.K. Smith. L.K. Smith was also at this convention. So like crazy people.
They did win 4 states, though. They won South Carolina, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and then one elector from Tennessee.
And they didn't do very well outside of it. I was wondering.
Of course they didn't.
well, even within the South, like if you look at Georgia, look at Arkansas, North Carolina, not even close. The Democrats kick their asses, big style. Because I thought like, maybe
it was a close run thing, kind of.
Yeah, but it was not, though. And then obviously Strom would leave the Democratic Party later on and become a Republican, in the 60s. But kind of an interesting...
And still remain senator from South Carolina to this day.
They retired his number. Yeah, they put his jersey up on the wall. Yeah, man, he was there for so long. I knew someone who used to work in Columbia, and I think USC's law school has a big building named after Strom Thurmond or something. But yeah, he's got a legacy today. though not a positive one for the most part. I think
No.
people have soured on him quite a bit over time.
It's interesting, though, that he is running for president in 1948 and like in 2003. He's like on the floor of the United States Senate. Like, it's unbelievable. By the way, he was governor of South Carolina at the time this happened. He was not in Congress.
Right.
To clarify. So, but, if he won more states, could that have swung the tide of the election? Or are we pushing into contingent territory?
Well, the South doesn't have a lot of big states. I mean, the biggest ones are Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and I guess Tennessee too. So
what about Virginia?
Virginia? Oh, yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah, that could work too. But I don't know. I feel like this is more of a deep South kind of movement. But yeah, is it even possible? Because I was going to say, if Truman antagonized the South more, but he already did quite a bit to combat segregation.
Well, he not only is there the civil rights plank. I mean, Truman is a huge mover of the civil rights. I mean, he desegregates the military, desegregates the federal workforce, which had been desegregated and then got resegregated by Woodrow Wilson.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So he did a lot for civil rights, which is remarkable for someone who grew up in rural Missouri.
Right.
I read some of the Truman biography by David McCullough. Really, really interesting. I didn't read all of it. They're so thick and not enough pictures. It's probably always go back to Go Dog Go. I mean, it's just easier.
And you can't even color the pictures too.
That's right. Ugh.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Democratic Party did a lot for civil rights in this particular election, and it shows in the results. Black people voted for the Democrats more than the Republicans for the first time ever, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a huge turnout, and also pro-union voters because of the Taft-Hartley bill. So.
Right, yeah.
So maybe no Taft-Hartley, maybe a stronger position on civil rights because the Republican position on civil rights was not strong.
Yeah, if you look at the RNC plank, I think all they have to say about civil rights is that lynching is bad. And it should not be allowed. Maybe there should be some kind of federal rule that says murdering people should be illegal. So didn't really light a fire under black Republicans for that election. And for that reason, I think a lot of them left the party for that very reason. Also because, you have Truman who's actually getting results, actually doing stuff for them.
Also, again, what if, we talked about earlier about Dewey being not as aggressive. What if he's more aggressive in attacking?
Oh, yeah. Dewey was very above the fray. But if he really went hammer and tongs on Truman, I think that really would have made him a lot more relatable and likable to normal people. Because people saw him as an elitist, saw him as kind of a little bit distant, a little bit of a cold fish. And I think that really hurt him. Whereas Truman, he would really talk to normal people and really appeal to him. Like he would go to a rally and he would talk about the local history. It's like, this is the town where James Fenimore Cooper's from. And he'll be like, I loved Last of the Mohicans. That's a great book. And, he was able to appeal to people in that way. And he would also make fun of Dewey all the time. Talk about how he's short. Compare him to Adolf Hitler, believe it or not.
Wow. That's a strong comparison.
I mean, just really just low sniping. But he was just really good at being down and dirty and just insulting the Republicans. And Dewey just would not do the same in response. And if he did, I think a lot of people would have been receptive to that because there was an old joke that every single Dewey speech could be boiled down to these 4 statements. I wrote it down somewhere. Hold on. Agriculture is important. Our rivers are full of fish. You can't have freedom without liberty. And our future lies ahead of us.
Wow.
That's great. Thanks, dude. Tom, that's awesome. So one of the little things he could have done to appeal to people more and appeal to farmers specifically, because farmers really turned against the Republicans in this election. People blamed the Republicans for, I think food prices were totally out of whack because as part of the end of World War II, we stopped price fixing. Mm-hmm. And that totally screwed everything up for farmers. And they took it personally and they blamed the Republicans for it because they controlled the House of Representatives, I think.
They did. In 46, the Republicans win control.
Yeah. And Truman even called a special session of Congress. He called it the Turnip Day session because he said like, oh, the 21st of April in Missouri, we call that Turnip Day. So we'll have a Turnip Day session. And then they don't do anything. And then he gets to say, the do-nothing Republicans.
Do-nothing Republicans. Yeah, they don't.
And if they did do something, then he could say, see, I can get results for you. You know, I can crack the whip and make them.
He was a better politician than people give him credit for. I mean, he had succeeded in the political machine in Missouri. He'd been a senator. I mean, he was a senator when he got picked to be vice president. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think that if Dewey's more aggressive, you know, maybe if he hits the communism issue harder. I mean, we are at the Cold War is starting to really ramp up by this point.
The Turnip Day session I mentioned, one of the few things that happened during it is that was the Alger Hiss thing and the Whitaker Chambers and all that other stuff. And it might not have ever happened if it wasn't for that special session of Congress, which means also Richard Nixon's career. Maybe he never becomes president because he doesn't do all that stuff.
Yeah. No, Nixon is a huge driver.
Yeah.
I always used to confuse Alger Hiss with Horatio Alger, which not
very different.
Very similar.
Well, I would confuse Henry Wallace and George Wallace, who are also very different.
Very different. Too many Wallaces, too many Hisses, or Algers or Horatios. I don't
Horatios. Know. Hubert Horatio Humphrey. That's another one.
Who liked the most disgusting sandwich on the face of the planet.
You were telling me that, and you're correct. That is disgusting.
Bologna, mayonnaise, cheddar cheese, ketchup on the side.
Catsup.
Sorry. It sounds disgusting. And if you look at a lot of his pictures, he looks like he's in discomfort, and maybe it's because his stomach is currently in revolt against him. I mean, my God, man.
Hubert Horatio Humphrey, the real Triple H. I love it.
Yep. But yeah, so if Dewey actually wins the presidency, what are the changes we see? You know, we've got a Republican president now in 1949. Where do we go with this? And what are the after effects of this?
Well, even if Dewey wins, Congress is controlled by the Democrats because they win big style in this election. They end up getting Congress, and I'm not sure what he'd be able to accomplish without the legislature behind him. So he'd have a lot of difficulties there. But when it comes to foreign policy, I think the Democrats and the Republicans, at least Dewey and Truman, were in pretty much agreement. Marshall Plan is a good thing.
Yeah.
Oppose the Soviets around the world, kind of an internationalist thing.
Yeah.
At home, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how they would be different.
Robert Taft against the Marshall Plan.
Yes.
Why? Why?
It's so crazy. Someone could be anti-communist, super anti-communist, want to be against the USSR, but also be against rebuilding Western Europe, be against promoting democracy in Western Europe, like just leaving it to be a backyard of the Soviet Union. It seems crazy to me.
Well, you know, I don't even want to attempt.
That Robert Taft in 1952, when he was running against Eisenhower for the primary, he said, "I want America to be a Gibraltar of freedom." And Eisenhower, who was well acquainted with Gibraltar, was like, "This guy is stupid. Gibraltar is like a irrelevant. It's irrelevant today.
Yeah.
200 years ago, it meant something. Now it's nothing. It's like a joke.
It's surrounded by Spain.
Yeah, it's surrounded by Spain. It can't interdict Navy stuff the way it used to.
Yeah, it used to be highly important. Although it was where he was based out of during Operation Torch. There's some good stuff in An Army at Dawn about him being in a bunker under the Rock of Gibraltar and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to Gibraltar sometime. I know someone who's been there. So it used to be that the road into Spain, it went across the runway of the air, so they would put these things down to block it, and then an airplane would take off, come up, and then you drive across.
That's the most insane thing.
They built a tunnel underneath it now, which is well, fuck, man, that's what made it cool.
Is it easy to get through because of Brexit? Because it's the EU.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I would like to go there at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me hungry for paella. Thinking about Spain. Oh no. Yeah, here's the thing is that if you're going to say something like that, you have to think about, you can't play half-court tennis. You know, you can't, you have to think about how the other side's going to react. You have to think about how it plays into the overall strategy. You can't just be well, we're going to hate communists, but we're not going to engage with the world.
Yeah.
If you want to make lots of money off of trade, you have to engage with the world. I mean, it doesn't work like that. You can't just,
And I think that's why so many people were internationalists on for the Democrats and the Republicans, just because, like, I mean, you kind of have to be,
Exactly.
with America's place in the world at that point. I mean, being an isolationist is being no longer a global power. It's a regional small power.
We tried isolationism in the 30s, and guess what we got?
World War II.
And a country not really prepared for it in many ways. So obviously on the foreign policy side, perhaps, although would Dewey not let China fall? Would Dewey try to get involved in that book? Damn, that one with the jungle never comes out, so like all the meat is really bad. The one with we talk about Dan Quayle a lot. Damn it!
I think it
is it Alternate Americas?
Almost America.
Almost America. In that, Dewey gets involved in China. He won't let China fall to the communists and basically starts a kind of war that looks something like Korea and Vietnam combined into one.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. I mean, how is he going to react to the Soviets getting the bomb? How would he react to the Korean War? I mean, maybe there's not much different you can do than Truman did.
Well, that's also an interesting point there, is that the Soviets would get the bomb, I think, in 48. Or 49, very early 49?
49.
Yeah.
49.
So that could be a crazy campaign issue if maybe they up their timeline a little bit. A month before the election, a nuclear bomb explodes in the Soviet Union. And people say, well, what the hell, Truman? What is... Did you know about this ahead of time? And that could help out Dewey quite a bit.
No,
but
absolutely.
a different response... I'm just not sure. And I think that's kind of the problem, is that,
they're actually very similar in many ways.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why maybe people overlook this election, is that when people say, well, what if it was otherwise? And it's kind of hard to come up with interesting counterfactuals that are different, apart from maybe a China sort of thing. That could be different.
And then if Dewey wins in 48, does Eisenhower run as a Democrat in 52?
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe Dewey would be so unpopular they dump him in 52. But I mean,
bring back Truman.
Back, baby. There's nothing that says I can't.
Well, yeah, the limitation on the presidency on the 25th Amendment comes into play in 48 is when it gets ratified. However, Truman was exempt from it. There was a grandfather clause that said that Truman was not subject to it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And you can be longer than, I think we've talked about it before, you can be the president. You can be president 9 years and 364 days, actually. You can do more. You can serve more than 2 terms, as long as you inherit the presidency more than halfway through, if you're vice president, more than halfway through another president's term.
I gotcha.
So, but yeah, there was a grandfather clause in it that exempted Truman from that. So we could have had Truman president until the 1970s, I guess. The eternal president.
Did he live that long?
He died in 72.
72. Wow.
He lived to be 88. Best Truman lived to be like 98 or 99. She lived in the 1980s.
Interesting.
Strom Thurmond lived to be 682 years old.
Someone who did not live super long? Henry Wallace. He had ALS.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he died in the late 40s, early 50s, I think.
Really? Well, he died after the Korean War started, because you were talking about how he was opposed to the Soviets in Korea. So
yeah, he kind of had a change of heart. And gosh, we haven't mentioned it at all, but Henry Wallace was running in this election as well.
He did, yeah. We totally forgot.
We glossed over that fact. But yes, so the Democrats are split in 3 ways. You've got the middle of the road Democrats, you have the states' rights Dixiecrats, and then you have the Progressive Party, which was also known as the New Party. But that was headed by Henry A. Wallace as kind of a revenge against Truman, a revenge against being dumped from the ticket by FDR. And then he was actually in the Truman administration and got kicked out of, I think, Commerce Secretary. He was forced out of that position because
he kept talking about Shambhala a lot.
He was like, I love this Joseph Stalin guy. He's great. What a great guy. And then after that, he became like this dissident character on the left, and he got a lot of support from the far left and eventually made his own party and made a bid for the presidency. He knew he was going to lose, but he wanted to kind of make a statement and maybe throw it into the House of Representatives.
And he got almost as many votes as Thurman, but because of where the votes were concentrated, it didn't matter. Because, I mean, Thurman wins 39 electoral votes. He wins 0. And there's not that much daylight between them in the number of votes they got, which is another peculiarity of the Electoral College, is it doesn't just matter what votes you get. It matters where you get those votes. I mean, it just does.
Yeah. He appealed a lot to black people and Jewish people also. They voted for him in high numbers. New York is where most of his support was.
And it's probably why Dewey won in New York very well.
Well,
he was also governor. He'd been governor.
He was a popular governor there, yeah. But there was no beating Dewey. So there was very little hope of him getting any electoral votes anywhere just because of the system. But he was not on every state's ballot. He was not on the ballot for Wisconsin or Illinois. If he was on that ballot, he could have siphoned off a lot of Democratic support and win those for Dewey.
Yeah.
So if there was better ballot access for Wallace across America, we could have seen the election go a different way.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing is that like our system is not really set up for a third party to really do that well. And frankly, big parties hate third parties when they actually are more than just silly, like the Prohibition Party or whatever, like a serious third party challenge. The Democrats this last election probably hated that Jill Stein was siphoning off votes. I know in 92, without Ross Perot, H.W. Bush would have beaten Clinton. He was siphoning off, Republican voters. I mean, third parties are terrible in a close election. I mean, maybe a third party doesn't matter in 1984 for, Reagan versus Mondale, but like, but I mean, like they do. I mean, here he could have actually swung. Yeah. If,
And of course, the specter of the contingent election is just such a nightmare that I think no one wants to really have to confront that.
Yeah.
And just because of the way the Electoral College works, it's just a giant pain in the ass. It's a lot easier to just try to, if you have a pet position, like, I don't know, for instance,
Prohibition.
Yeah. to go to the Democrats or the Republicans to adopt that as a plank in their position.
That's way better. Yeah.
Instead of making a protest party that's just going to make everything more complicated and be a giant waste of time. So, yeah, I think the system would have to be different in order for third or fourth parties to make any sense at all.
Probably proportional voting or something like that. But we don't want to do that.
I guess not. We've had a lot of time to do it, and we haven't done it yet. So,
just like the metric system, we're not accepting it either. My weight will always be in pounds, never in kilos.
Excuse me, how many fluid ounces is this, ma'am?
Yes.
I don't know. 20 degrees Celsius, is that hot? Is that cold? No clue. Couldn't tell you.
And proudly couldn't tell you.
Excuse me, how many fathoms is this? I need to...
Yes. Fun stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, it is a fascinating election because it is so close. And again, remember, this is in the midst of the longest run in a while that I can think of a single, in the 20th century, of a single party holding office, because it is literally 20 years. There's 20 straight years where they're Democratic presidents.
Yeah.
From March of just shy of it. March of 33 to January of 53. The president is a Democrat for 19 years and 10 months. So people have lived their whole lives. They're born, graduate school, and they're in college, and now they've never known anyone but a Democratic president.
Oh my God. I mean, I was just talking to my grandpa yesterday about this. He was born in the mid-1930s. By the time FDR died, and he remembers the day very well, he knew no one but FDR his whole life. And the moment he was dead, it was like, oh my God, it's all over. The eternal president has died. And then Truman comes into power, and he likes him because he's associated with FDR. And then this Dewey guy comes along, and he hates him. Not just because he's against, the order he's known his entire life, but also because he's got a mustache. And only bad guys have mustaches. I'll give you an example. Adolf Hitler. All right. Tojo. Okay. All right. Stalin. There you go. Stalin, another bad guy. So I mean,
Franco.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Franco did have a mustache.
And then of course Thomas Dewey, the next name on that list.
The 5 great villains of the 20th century. Well, actually, I mean, that is the funny thing you say that is that there's not been a president with facial hair since Taft. I think Vance is the first vice president since Charles Curtis to have facial hair.
I think that's right. I think you are correct on that one.
Americans like clean-shaven politicians.
But that might be changing.
Yeah, the beard's making a comeback.
We'll see. We'll see.
Mustache. That's right. He has a mustache. Ugh.
I wonder if, talk about counterfactuals. What if he shaved the mustache? Would that win the election
America's
for him?
smooth-faced hero lead us to victory.
There's a picture of Thomas Dewey's son who doesn't have a mustache. He looks exactly like his dad. It's a very cursed image. Very, very... Hold on. There he is.
Whoa! Wow! He looks exactly like his dad.
It's
without
crazy.
a mustache. Oh my God! Wow.
So much relies on just a few hairs above the lip.
That's right. Yeah. Fates will be decided. History shall turn. But yeah, no, this is a fun thing to explore. Like, and it definitely is a weird election.
Weird election. 4 parties. I mean, when's the last 4 legitimate parties? Because Thurmond and Wallace both get over 1 million votes, which in this time period is quite a bit, quite a lot.
Because the last, well, I guess 92 is the last significant third party run by Ross.
Good old Ross. And you're on like a
first name
first
basis.
name basis
Well,
with him.
Not really, because he's dead.
Well, yeah.
But magnificent ears, I will say that.
A beautiful man.
And beautiful charts, too. Man, did that man love a chart and a pointer. Look at these charts, everybody.
Ross Perot was funny. Like, if you look at him in the debates, him cracking jokes and stuff, it's like, that's charming. I understand why people liked him so much.
Doesn't mean you should be president.
Well, yeah, it's true. It's true.
But what a character.
Yeah. Maybe we'll
we should do a 92 Perot wins.
Hey, yeah. Talk about the Reform Party in general. That's some really interesting stuff.
Jesse Ventura. Reform America.
I think Pat Buchanan was involved in the Reform Party.
He was, yeah.
A deep cover agent sabotaging it from the inside.
Oh boy. Well, this has been a fun one to talk about. This was meant to be like a mini episode. It looks for about that we've recorded. It will not be exactly a mini episode, but
we can't help ourselves.
We just can't. There's some other really good ideas we have. Those will probably be shorter episodes or not. We'll see.
Or maybe not.
Or not. Who cares? We'll figure it out. Yes. You all like it, so we'll just go with it.
And you know what? We like it too.
Yeah, that's right. Well, this is Matt signing off.
And this is Max signing off.
Have a good day, guys.